أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين. اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين.
الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا. من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له، وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله وخليله وصفيه وأمينه على وحيه ومصطفاه من خلقه، صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا. أما بعد، فإن خير الكلام كلام الله، وخير الهدي هدي رسول الله صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم، وشر الأمور محدثاتها، وكل محدثة بدعة، وكل بدعة ضلالة. أما بعد، فاتقوا الله يا عباد الله. Fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. My brother in Islam, my sister in Islam, the advice that I give to you today, standing on these pieces of wood, is that you fear Allah, the Mighty and the Most High. Be mindful of Him, be watchful of Him, be wary of Him, subhanahu wa ta'ala. If you always constantly realize that you are under the greatest surveillance, there is no one that knows more, that has more intimate, detailed knowledge and awareness of you and everything about you than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That is my nasiha. The nasiha that I give to you is my brother and my sister in Islam. And not only is this an obligation, not only is this your mandatory duty, it's your responsibility. It isn't anything special. It isn't anything beyond your normal task as Allah's slave. But it's also something that is virtuous. It is something that is fruitful. It is something that is bountiful. It is a thing, if you do, you shall receive countless blessings in this life, in the grave, when you're resurrected, when bi'idhnillahi subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah allows you and admits you to paradise. From the fruits of taqwa, from the benefits of being watchful and wary of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, is what Allah the Sublime and Exalted tells us about the previous nations, about the previous people, the followers of the prophets and the messengers before Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam. وَلَوْ أَنَّ أَهْلَ الْقُرَىٰ, Allah says, if the people of the towns, if the people of the villages, despite what they did, despite their professions, despite how they traded, whatever they did, أَهْلُ الْقُرَىٰ, the people who lived, who came before us, آمَنُوا وَاتَّقَوْا, Allah says, if they had iman, if they had taqwa, لَفَتَحْنَا عَلَيْهِمْ بَرَكَاتٍ مِنَ السَّمَاءِ وَالْأَرْضِ, we, Allah says, we would have fatahna, not razaqnahum, we've given them, we've provided them. Allah says fatahna, we would have opened up. What would Allah have opened up for these people? Ahlul Qura. Allah says barakatin, nakira. Allah says barakat, blessings. What blessings? Good health, protection from one's enemies, good harvest, catching many fish by the sea, by the shore, those who traded, who bought, who deal with these types of provisions that Allah gave them. Allah says, barakat. Where would these barakat come from? Only from the water, only from the land, only from the rain, the snow, the hail, the rain. Allah says, min as-samai wal-ard, from heaven and from earth. Corn, wheat, and the list goes on. Things that people need for their necessary daily 9-to-5 lives. You cannot survive if you don't drink. You cannot survive if you don't eat. You cannot survive if you don't have shade and shelter. You can't live unless Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives you these necessary things. Where do these things come from? Except for one of two directions. Above or what you're standing on. Something that you eat. What did you have for breakfast this morning? What did you have for your snack before you came to the khutbah. I can guarantee you, I'm for sure, I don't know what it was, but it was something that came from one of those two locations. Something that came from the sky or came from the earth. You had cereal, you had oatmeal, you had raisins, you had fish, you had beef, you had chicken, you're a vegetarian. You drank some spring water. Every drop of water in the earth, from any well, reservoir, comes from the Sama. So everything that you live off of and thrive off of and drive off of and move off of comes from how many directions? Above or beneath. Allah says, لَفَتَحْنَا عَلَيْهِمْ بَرَكَاتٍ مِنَ السَّمَاءِ وَالْأَرْضِ. We would have opened up for them barakat, blessings, bounties from heaven and from the earth. وَلَكِنْ, Allah says, however, on the contrary, however though, كَذَبُوا, they rejected it. They didn't believe in it. They didn't submit to it. They thought it was a lie, a legend, falsehood, hoax, hogwash. Allah, God, resurrection, qiyamah, death, hellfire, that doesn't make any sense. Allah says, فَأَخَذْنَاهُمْ. So we seized them, we snatched them, we punished them, we took them. بِمَا كَانُوا يَكْسِبُونَ. Because of the sins that they used to earn, the sins that they used to make, the mistakes that they fell into, their wickedness, their bad evil deeds. So if you have the taqwa of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, bi'idhnillah, Allah will give you good health. If you have the taqwa of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if you have a short life, if you die at the age of 40 because of cancer, if you die at the age of 50 because of prostate cancer, or breast cancer, or diabetes, know for sure those 40 years will be action-packed. Those 40 years will be blessed years, happy years, better than a man who lives to 80 and 90 and 100, full of sadness, full of anxiety, full of worry, full of sorrow, full of jealousy, envy, conniving, scratching, full of hayat dunya. People stabbing him in his back, lying on him, his wife leaving him, her husband abusing her. Those 40 years that Allah gave you will be full of blessings. If Allah Azza wa Jalla, if you have to talk of Him subhanahu wa ta'ala, He will give you barakat in your wealth and the money that you have. I came to America and I had just two things. I had a hat and I had a bag. That was it. A bag and a hat. I had no car, I had no house, I had no business, I had nothing. And 1 year, 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 30 years, and now what does Allah provide me with? I have real estate. I'm a businessman. My children go to school. My daughters, my sons, they're married, they have children. I'll give you barakah from such a little, small, tiny seed. And I'm sure many of you sitting in front of me today can all relate to this. Can all relate to this. Or those who didn't migrate from another country. What did you have when you accepted Islam? What were you going through when you accepted Islam? What did you know? What do you know now? Did you have that black mark on your forehead? What did you know from the Quran? You came home from jail, difficulties, hardships. Now look what Allah has given you. This is from the fruits of taqwa. And we go on and on and on and on and on. Those of us who learn, those of us who seek knowledge, who learn the Quran. How much Quran did you know when you began? Could you recite in this way? Did you memorize Surah Al-Baqarah? Almost 300 ayats. It's very long. And it's not 300 small, short ayats. It's not like Surah Al-Shu'ara. Inna fi dhalika la'ayah. Surah Al-Baqarah has long, lengthy ayats. And when you started reciting the Quran, you could barely recite Surah Al-Fatiha. You could barely recite Surah Al-Ikhlas. And then you recite Surah Al-Baqarah, then Al Imran, then Nisa, then Ma'idah. Allah gave you barakah from a small, humble beginning. So fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and if you do, know for sure He will open up doors for you that you never thought possible. Alhamdulillah wa kafa wa salatu wa salamu ala ibadihi alladhina astafa amma ba'd. Hitting not to each and every Muslim, rather to each and every citizen, visitor, guest here in the United States. The difficult times that we live in, the challenges that we face, the insecurities, the uncertainties, the things that we aren't sure of, we don't know about, with regards to today, with regards to tomorrow. What is going to happen and what is going to take place to the Muslims? What is going to happen? What is going to take place to immigrants? What is going to happen? What is going to take place to America, to the Constitution, to the non-Muslims, the Jews, the Christians? Those of this background, that background, what's going to take place in America? We don't know. Things are stirring up. Things are happening. Difficulties are appearing. They give a great deal of doubt and insecurity of the future of this country. In general, for everybody. Let alone the Muslims, let alone the practicing Muslims, let alone Muslims from a specific ethnicity, ancestry, or background. Let alone Muslims who migrated to this country, and the list goes on. It's uncertain. We don't know. Every single day, we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. But specifically in the times in which we live in right now, what is taking place to the Muslims. And don't think that it's just in the United States of America, it's just in North America, all over the world. As I speak right now, once again, standing on these pieces of wood, I'm sure that it's a Muslim that's being killed. As we speak right now, I'm sure there's a widow crying. I'm sure there's an orphan weeping in the streets. I'm sure it's a brother named Ali or Mustafa or Abdul Jabbar who's in the streets, hungry, starving, no food, no water, no heat. As we speak right now, why are these things happening to these Muslims? Why are they suffering? Why are they moving such pain and such agony? As we speak right now, someone is being kicked out of a place. As we speak right now, someone is being put behind bars. Someone is being prevented and held back for one reason or another. As we speak right now, because they're different time zones. If you live in Indonesia right now, it's not the daytime. Overseas, it's a different time zone. Let alone the climates and the atmosphere of the people. So we don't know what's going to take place in our country. We don't know what's going to take place in the world today at large. But we know for sure, one thing for sure, is that there is going to be a fitna. There's going to be a test. There's going to be a trial. And from the reasons behind this test and behind this trial, there are many reasons behind them, is because of one word. And that word is called al-Iman. Belief in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If you believe in Allah, if you believe in the last day, if you say Yawm al-Qiyamah is real, and if I believe in that, it is a necessity for me to act upon that belief and implement and apply that belief, you're going to be put through a specific fitna above the rest of the people. Don't think that you're honorable, that you're esteemed, that you're mighty, that you mean something, that you're really important. It happened before us. It took place to people that were stronger than us, more knowledgeable, more righteous, more devoted, more sincere than us. And from what Allah Azza wa Jalla tells us about these people who went through struggles, who were tortured, who were persecuted, who were killed, who were murdered, who were raped, who were humiliated. What Allah Azza wa Jalla explains regarding what took place and what could take place and what has taken place here in America is Allah Azza wa Jalla's statement in the 85th chapter of the Quran al-Kareem. Allah, He swears, He makes an oath, He brings the attention of man. He opens up man's eyes. Listen carefully, pay attention, and reflect on my words. وَالسَّمَاءِ ذَاتِ الْبُرُوجِ. Allah says, by the heavens, by the sama. In other words, each and everything that is above you. NASA, space exploration, this explorer, this scientist, this astrologer, this astronomer, everything that people research and study and live by and go to their lives by, Allah swore by it in the Quran. What's sama? That which is above your head is called the sama. The sky, the atmosphere, the stratosphere, the clouds, the stars, and then this goes on. What's sama'i that buruj? Allah says, by the sama that has buruj, that has mansions, structures, huge bodies and constellations of things. How many systems are there? How many planets are there? Galaxies, Milky Way. Only Allah knows, subhanahu wa ta'ala. He swore by it, subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَالسَّمَاءِ ذَاتِ الْبُرُوجِ. What does Allah Azza wa Jalla then say? He says, وَالسَّمَاءِ ذَاتِ الْبُرُوجِ وَالْيَوْمِ الْمَوْعُودِ. The promised day. A day in which I've been promised, you have been promised, the leader has been promised, the follower has been promised, the tyrant has been promised, the oppressor has been promised, and the oppressed have all been promised this one day. And Allah is not going to break His promise, subhanahu wa ta'ala, because He has no need to. He doesn't need me, He doesn't need you, He doesn't need us. So when He makes a promise, know that it is true. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala even says, وَشَاهِدٍ وَمَشْهُودٍ. The witness, he who testifies, the thing that bears witness, وَمَشْهُودٍ, and the thing upon which witness has been made. What does this mean? The shahid and the mashhud. Some of the righteous predecessors, they said, a shahid is today, Yawm al-Jumu'ah. And the mashhud is the day of Arafah. And others, they said, a shahid is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He bears witness. He testifies. He swears. He makes an oath. And He also tells us, He gives us shahada. and something is mashhud. The shahada is giving to another thing. Allah Azza wa Jalla, after He makes this introduction, after He sets the tone of the entire surah, the greatness of Allah, the magnificence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the power of Him, the mighty and the most high, He then gets into the details of the story. قُتِلَ أَصْحَابُ الْأُخْدُودِ, the people who made these holes in the ground, they made these pits in the earth. Allah says they have been cursed. They will be cursed. They are far from my mercy. I will show them any benevolence and kindness in hereafter. Why? Why are they cursed? Because they dug holes in the ground? What did they do? Allah says, قُتِلَ أَصْحَابُ الْأُخْدُودِ النَّارِ ذَاتِ الْوُقُودِ. Allah says the fire that they brought to a kindling blaze. Why did they make a kindling blaze? Who were they throwing in this fire? Christians, Jews, Catholics, the Scottish, the Irish, the Celts. Who? What were the people that would be burnt and tortured and humiliated? And for what reason? Allah says, إِنْ هُمْ عَلَيْهَا قُعُودٌ. They were sitting down around the fire for two reasons. Number one, first and foremost, is that everyone could see. This is what happens when you want to be a Muslim. This is what happens when you want to be a believer. This is what happens when you want to have a beard. You want to practice. You want to be pious. You want to be righteous. Look at the punishment. And secondly, for them to please themselves and entertain themselves, to have a joke, to have a laugh at these Muslims burning alive. Burning alive. Don't hang them. Don't kill them with swords or spears. Don't cut this off. No. Burn them. Torture them. Slow, painful, agonizing, sick death. Sick torture. Allah Azza wa Jalla, He says, إِذْ هُمْ عَلَيْهَا قُعُودٌ وَهُمْ عَلَى مَا يَفْعَلُونَ بِالْمُؤْمِنِينَ شُهُودٌ. They knew what they were doing. It was clear what they were doing. Everyone understood what they were doing. وَمَا نَقَمُوا مِنْهُمْ إِلَّا أَن يُؤْمِنُوا بِاللَّهِ الْعَزِيزِ الْحَمِيدِ. And the only reason why they punished them, the only reason why they tortured them, the only reason why they were thrown into that fire is because of their skin color? No. Because of their passports? No. Because of their backgrounds? No. Because they were believers in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They believed in Allah and not a cross and a crucifix. They said Allah is one, not two, not three. Don't think it's just for Muslims from Somalia. Don't think it's just for Muslims from Yemen. Don't think it's just Muslims from Iran and Iraq and everybody else is safe from there. Don't think that. Don't think that. Don't be so stupid and so fooled. Don't think that the greed and the lust of the tyrant and the oppressor is going to be satisfied. This lust for blood, for flesh, is insatiable. Allah Azza wa Jalla, He tells us about this tyrant and about these tyrannical people. Allah, He says, وَمَا نَقَمُوا مِنْهُمْ إِلَّا أَن يُؤْمِنُوا بِاللَّهِ الْعَزِيزِ الْحَمِيدِ. The only reason why they punish them and torture them is because they believe in Allah Al-Aziz Al-Hamid. He subhanahu wa ta'ala was the most mighty and the most powerful. That's why they weren't scared. That's why they didn't get in. That's why they won't coerce to say, there is no Allah. Some of the Mufassirin, they say that this ayah is dealing with a people that we call today Unitarians. Unitarians. Christians who reject the Trinity. Christians who believe in Allah alone without any partner. As far as today, they don't accept Muhammad, so they're still kuffar. They're not Muslims. But in the past, they were people of Tawheed. But there was before Muhammad's legislation, before he came as a prophet. So the people who wanted to kill these Christians and burn these Christians, they wanted them to accept shirk and say that there is no one God. There are many gods. There are goddesses. And there is no monotheism in your religion. But these Christians remained firm. They were strong. They would choose the fire instead of kufr and shirk. Why was that? Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is Al-Aziz. And Allah Azza wa Jalla has Al-Izzah. And Allah Azza wa Jalla yu'izzu. He gives strength. He gives might. He gives power. The power, the might, the strength of the believer is in the heart. The power, the might, the strength of the believer is in his mind. The power, the might, the strength of the believer is in his aqidah, what he believes in. Once his heart is right and strong, his mind is firm, his aqidah is sound, then comes the physical strength, the physical power. Not muscles, not the ability to toss men, to overpower men, but to bear torture, to bear hardships, to bear difficulty. Do whatever you want to do. فَقْضِ مَا أَنْتَ قَاضٍ, as it says in Surah. Do whatever you want to do, Pharaoh. Make whatever decision you wish to make. And then he says you only can control the worldly life. So you can kill us, you can torture us, you can lock us up, you can ban us, you can do this and you can do that. But you can never ever take our aqidah away from us. You can never take our dignity and our honor and our pride as Muslims unless we don't have this dignity, unless we don't have this pride, unless culture, nationalism, racism, prejudice, unless my nation is more important than my deen. I'm an African before I'm a Muslim. I'm an Arab before I'm a Muslim. That's what many of us say. That's what many of us practice. Islam comes after my culture, after my nation. So if this is your attitude and this is your approach, then where's your izzah? What do you have of this strength and of this power? What did the Prophet ﷺ tell us about someone who uses his background and his ancestry and his lineage instead of the deen? I'm better than you because of my father. I'm better than you because of my race. I'm better than you because of my tribe. What did the Prophet ﷺ say? Man ta'azza bi'azza al-jahiliyyah. He says, those who seek pride and strength in jahiliyyah, fa'iduhu, fa'aknuhu bi'hayabi. What else can we do? Okay, my father ﷺ. We all know what the Prophet said about that man. Telling him to eat something, to bite down on something. If Jahiliyyah is better than you, if Jahiliyyah is sweeter than Islam, if your might, if your izzah, if your power doesn't come from your aqidah, then that's what you should do. Allah says, Al-Hamid, He was most praised, subhanahu wa ta'ala. He was praised when the Muslims live comfortably and prosperity. He was praised when the Muslims go through trials and through difficulties. He was praised. I make a salah on the airplane, when I land, when I return to my country. My hijab is not just in the Middle East. My hijab is not just in America. Allah is praised, Allah is lauded, Allah is loved, no matter what situation that you're going through. Subhanahu wa ta'ala. الَّذِي لَهُ مُلْكُ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ وَاللَّهُ عَلَى كُلِّ شَيْءٍ شَهِيدٌ. To whom belongs the dominion of the heavens and earth. America is only one country. North America is only one continent. Allah Azza wa Jal owns everything. Everything that exists is from His dominion. He owns it. He possesses it. So who are you to stop people and to ban people and to prevent people? Who are you to bomb someone and kill someone and blow? So who are you? What do you own? What do you possess? You come from base fluid. There was a time in which you didn't walk, you didn't talk. And there will come a time in which you're a grown man, you won't be able to walk and you won't be able to talk. In a wheelchair, in a walker with the tube sticking down your throat. Who are you, O slave of the law? O poor individual? Who are you to make these type of problems for the Muslims? And the law owns everything that's in the heavens and the earth. Wallahu ala kulli shay'in shaheed. And indeed, once again, Allah is a witness. Allah sees what you're doing. Allah knows what you're thinking. Allah is well aware of your plot and your plan. Know for sure, Allah will give you some rope for you to hang yourself. Know for sure, Allah will grant you respite. And when He seizes you, when He destroys you, there's no turning back. Subhanahu wa ta'ala. إِنَّ الَّذِينَ فَتُنُوا الْمُؤْمِنِينَ وَالْمُؤْمِنَاتِ ثُمَّ لَمْ يَتُوبُوا فَلَهُمْ عَذَابُ جَهَنَّمَ وَلَهُمْ عَذَابُ حَرِيقٍ. Those who torture the believers, punish the believers, who are tyrannical to the believers, these people, and they don't make tawbah, you still have a chance. You have an opportunity. If you say La ilaha illallah, Muhammad Rasulullah, and put down your hands, put down your weapons, and you stop making dhulm, Allah will love you. Allah will accept your good deeds and wipe away all your bad deeds. Look at the beauty and the justice of our Islam. Those who burnt the believers, if they made tawbah, if they turned to Allah before death, Allah would have accepted their tawbah. But we know they didn't. We know they wouldn't. We know that they won't, as Allah tells us in His glorious Quran. Those who punish the believers, who torture the believers, they will have a adab al-hariq, not a pit of fire in this worldly life. How hot can you make the fire? To melt steel, to melt iron, you burn it with wood. How hot can the fire be on this dunya? But the hariq, waliyadu billah, is a fire that's unimaginable, waliyadu billah. The Prophet told us, Inna hadithdisciple, he says, the fire that you can do, O son of Adam, he says it's only one of over 70 parts of the true hellfire, the true blazing fire. You ever think about this? So you can burn a believer, you can torture a believer, know for sure someone is stronger than you, more powerful than you. And when he burns, it's not going to be like anything on this worldly life. When Allah Azza wa Jal ties someone up and fastens someone, la yuthiqu wathaqahu ahad. No one can do it like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ, those who believe, those who do righteous deeds in America, outside of America, on the airplane, in the airport. If you believe and you have righteous deeds, لَهُمْ جَنَّاتٌ, they will have gardens beneath which rivers flow. ذَلِكَ الْفَوْزُ الْكَبِيرُ. That is a great success. That's a big success. Not being accepted, not being allowed, not having money, not having looks, not having women and children and this and that. That's a great success. Allah being pleased with you and you being pleased with Him subhanahu wa ta'ala. So we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to allow us as Muslims to wake up. Ameen. We ask Allah to open our eyes and to open our hearts and open our minds and to realize what is going on. Ameen. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make this fitna, to make this trial a means of us growing closer to Him subhanahu wa ta'ala. A means of our iman growing, our iman maturing, and a means of us doing our responsibilities as Muslims.